But we start with D'Angelo Russell, 27 points in the fourth quarter, a career high. What do you think about this surprising year that we've seen from D'Angelo Russell?
I'm proud of him because a lot of times when people have success, you see them at the finish line and you forget all of the turbulence that they had to endure to get there.
That's a good point.
All of the patience, still believing in yourself, still putting in the work. And he got drafted by the Los Angeles Lakers, one of the most storied brands in sports. And so when they trade you, a lot of people feel like that's an admission that you can't get it done.
Oh, yeah.
So now you have to build your game back up, your reputation back up, and your confidence. And so now that he's getting an opportunity to play quality minutes, he's putting on a show.
Oh, he is.
He made the All-Star team. And a lot of times when you have a game like his, where he's not the fastest, he doesn't jump the highest, people can't necessarily see your potential happen fast. And so for him to be so young in his career and had a lot of people write him off, to now be with the Nets team, is there a team that's having more fun than them?
It doesn't feel like it.
No team in the NBA has more fun than the Nets.
It doesn't feel like it. Like the bench, every time that D'Angelo Russell hit a three, they were just going absolutely bonkers on the bench.
And this is how you know that you have something with sustainability. Shout to Sean Marks, my former teammate in Phoenix, Kiwi. Their GM has done a terrific job. Their coach Atkinson. But how about the fact that Karis LeVert was on a roll to possibly be an all-star?
Yeah, he was. At the beginning of the season, people forget this was like the Karis LeVert breakout year, and then he got hurt, and it became the D'Angelo Russell breakout year. And now LeVert is slowly working his way back from injury,
along with Dinwiddie, he was balling so much they gave him a contract during this year.
Yeah.
Okay, so to have that young collection of talent all playing
Jared
together
Allen.
and enjoying themselves, it's been really refreshing to see them outplay expectations.
So you bring this up a lot, but you look at the success of D'Angelo Russell, you look at the success of Julius Randle, and you look at the success of Lou Williams, who were all recently in a Laker uniform. Can you blame the Lakers for the success of the people that they have let go via free agency or trade?
And Brook Lopez was recently a member of their team.
Great point, too.
But here's what happens. Like, when you are the Lakers, there had to be a rebuild. So therefore, you must tear it down first. So I understood letting Lou Will go. I did not, to be honest, understood letting Lopez go. But letting D'Angelo go was really just a function of salary that they were trying to dump Mozgov. Letting Randall go was a function of getting 2 max spots. LeBron James came in one of those spots.
It did. I mean, I think it's we even in this room point out the success that these ex-Lakers have had, but I think if at the time none of them seemed like bad decisions.
Because that's the beauty of team sports. The team that was assembled was not going to be successful as a collection. So therefore, you got to break it down piece by piece. And so to see those guys getting those opportunities in new situations are refreshing. And I always talk about this. People always talk about being a Hall of Famer, being a champion, being an all-star, being an all-time great. But one of the best compliments somebody can pay you is that you're a veteran. That means that you've been around a long time, been able to reinvent yourself with the times. And that's what these guys seem to be able to do.
Big shout out to the veteran Jared Dudley. Some key plays down the end there. We stay in the Eastern Conference to the 76ers, who played the Hornets without Joel Embiid, and they got big games from all their other stars. Tobias Harris over 20, Jimmy Butler over 20, Ben Simmons over 20, and JJ Redick almost had a triple-double. Redick was balling in Charlotte last night. So they're coming together at the right time. They've now won 5 games in a row, and they're pretty solid in their spot in the standings in the Eastern Conference. It looks like the 1, 2, 3 in the Eastern Conference are pretty much set. So I'm going to fast forward a little bit to the second round of the Eastern Conference playoffs. Who would you pick in a game between them and the Toronto Raptors?
Home court advantage has to play a factor. The Kyle Lowry regular season versus postseason performance plays a factor in my mind.
Good point.
And the Sixers, in my opinion, have the second best starting 5 in the game. And JJ Redick, who you mentioned at 34 years old, actually had his first double-double. So he's actually playing some of the best basketball that he's played. So based on those dynamics, and Joel Embiid seems to be unstoppable right now when he's healthy, I would have to go with Philly, not underestimating the Raptors, but just needing to see it, just like from Philly. we need to see it as well because Boston humbled them last year.
Well, there are some numbers that will back up that because the Sixers have, like, low-key been doing some things very elitely. Look at the points per game, 4th in the league. Assists per game, 1st in the Eastern Conference. Free throws per game matters a little bit, but that's also 1st in the Eastern Conference. And opponent's 3-point percentage is important as well. That is the best in the league for defense. There's one thing I would say, though, is the Sixers don't have really good defensive guards. So you talk about Kyle Lowry in the playoffs, and in this particular series would be an opportunity for Kyle Lowry to put up big numbers against McConnell and Redick.
I'm going to have to hit the brakes on that one because Ben Simmons, their point guard, is a terrific defensive guard.
He's 6'10". He's not going to cover Kyle Lowry.
And yes, he can. And
I
yes,
think he can.
would.
You think he would match up with Kyle Lowry to start the game and start possession?
Well, in today's game of positionless basketball and switching everything, he's going to be matched up with all of the players they have. In particular, Lowry, Serge, Pascal Siakam. And the other thing about Ben Simmons, he's not a shooter. So therefore, in transition, a lot of times he might be at the top of the floor. He might be on the baseline. He might be stuck on whoever. So the guy they're going to pick on is J.J. Redick. The guy they're going to try to pick on is T.J. McConnell. They're going to try to pick at those guys. But as a collection, you have Jimmy Butler. You have Tobias Harris. You have Joel Embiid. These guys can hold their own, guarding their position.
I love the Sixers in the playoffs this year. But honestly, I still have no idea who's going to win the Eastern Conference. That's why it's so much fun to watch.
LeBron's gone.
It's now time for News That Matters. Jalen, I've done more research on the upcoming season of Game of Thrones than anything I've ever researched for this program. And I know you don't love Game of Thrones, but I know you do love wine. So I want to show you this clip of Game of Thrones star Sophie Turner, Sansa Stark. She's on the Jumbotron, chugs the whole glass of wine in a white coat, might I add. Jalen Rose, do you support chugging red wine? I know you love wine.
That's a boss move.
Boss move.
That's definitely a boss move, but a couple of things I must say.
Oh, okay.
As somebody that does not watch Game of Thrones, I appreciate how the avid stans like yourself of that show continues to support it faithfully. That's one. Number two, she lost me with the dab. I was off.
Yeah, the dab. I don't know if she knows the dab. I was off. The dab's a little, I didn't want to bring too much attention to the dab. Yeah, I was trying to celebrate her.
That let people like me know I ain't really missing nothing. I'm good. I'm good.
Why don't you watch Game of Thrones, Jalen? But one time I saw one of the actresses dab, and it was like early 2019.
I'm good.
So ever since then, no, I'm off Game of Thrones. Sansa, I ride for you. Don't listen to Jalen. I report on Pier 17 and brought to you by Heineken. Welcome back to Jalen and Jacoby. Jalen Rose. A gentleman just signed a contract to play professional sports for $430 million.
Where's my bet?
$430 million. The Angels have committed 12 years and $430 million to Mike Trout. It starts in the 2021 season. So basically, they're saying, Mike Trout, we're paying you an average of about $36 million a year until the year 2022 or 2023. Just think about that. Think about the year 2023, 2032, 2032. He's going to be making $36 million every single year from now until then. Jalen, what do you think about this land-breaking contract?
Well, it tells me that initially in my current life, I fell asleep with a basketball. Took it everywhere I went. Now in my afterlife, from here on out, I'm gonna have this baseball bat with me.
Jalen Jr. is gonna get a baseball bat.
I'm about to start sleeping with this.
Jalen Jr. is gonna get a baseball bat.
No doubt. Here you go. Okay, you put that football down. Okay, like the great thing about this contract is I appreciate sports that don't have salary cap. Imagine if basketball didn't have one. The dynamics would change as it related to free agency so much if you could just take one or two players and say, I'll pay them whatever to keep them.
For 12 years. You can just say, Giannis Antetokounmpo, we love you in Milwaukee. Guess what? You're going to be here until 2030.
Or how about a player like Kevin Durant in OKC? A guy that accomplished so much and won an MVP. That's what they're doing with Mike Trout. They're basically paying him and not allowing him to hit free agency. And we know, like, everything that he accomplished on the field.
Of course.
Like his wins above replacement.
Statistically, he's an anomaly. He's one of the best baseball players that's ever played the game of baseball.
No doubt about it. Absolutely. And so, like, the market of that sport is phenomenal. You see Machado get paid. You see Bryce Harper getting paid. Like, I always appreciated the fact that these guys get a true opportunity to get fair market value.
And when you look at this deal, and you also look at the most lucrative deals that have been signed in other major sports. Now, this is, if you look at them right now, it's a bit tricky of a stat because soccer players' contracts are very complicated, so they probably average more annually. But just with the 4 major sports here domestically, Mike Trout, 430, Russell Westbrook, 207, Matt Ryan, 150, Alex Ovechkin, 124. I would say that of the other 3, each one is not the best player in their sport. So do you think at one point they will regret Mike Trout being on this contract? Ovechkin is arguably the best player in hockey.
Correct. Has Ovechkin won a Stanley Cup?
Yes.
Okay. He has. The other people on that list have not won championships. So it goes back to my initial point. Even though that has not taken place, we're going to do what we can to secure this all-time great talent and not lose him to somebody that's not only paying him the same amount of money, but can probably offer him the championship allure. And I keep going back to KD because he's the perfect example of a guy that in the NBA, if you could have gave him unlimited dollars, I believe you keep he and Russell together.
It's interesting. Now, another athlete that is making a nice penny, something like an annual $61 million from his club, is Cristiano Ronaldo. You know Cristiano Ronaldo, right? Very, very handsome fella. And he's also trying to make some side money. And Jalen, you're the senior statue analyst of ESPN, but you are also our senior hairline correspondent. And Cristiano Ronaldo has famously a very nice head of hair. He's a very handsome guy. Well, he has opened up a hair transplant clinic in Spain. Jalen, what do you think about this business venture from Cristiano Ronaldo?
I think there's a woman in his life that got him spending his money on this.
Well, his girlfriend was also at the press conference, and she will be involved in this business venture. Do you think LeBron James has reached out already, or do you think that's going to come down the line?
Well, LeBron was playing a basketball. LeBron was attending a basketball game in Detroit, and he was laughing about something on the bench. And the good thing is he got a chance to enjoy it. The bad thing is he bent his head down.
Yes.
And the internet got the chance to see that he had an earthquake happening up there.
Well, Jalen, I'm also starting to creep into corners a little bit. My hairline doesn't look like yours. Do you think I should get hair transplants?
No.
What do you think about that?
Don't
do you think that looks good?
No.
Look at that full head of hair on there.
No.
Look at that full head of hair on there.
No, you look too responsible. You look too disciplined. No. You look like you would not have an adult beverage.
That
even
doesn't
if
work.
It was right in front of you.
That doesn't work.
No, that looked like a failed test.
Well,
I think that's going to have a lot to do with the upside of the Nuggets in the playoffs. If they're able to secure the number 1 seed, they have a legit chance to make it to the conference finals. If you're the Golden State Warriors, you don't want to play Game 7 in Denver.
No.
So you want to give yourself an opportunity as you advance through the West to have home court advantage in each round. Because last year,
I remember last year,
Houston
for Game 7, and I'm gonna say they got lucky in that Game 7.
They missed 27 straight threes. Did the Rockets?
That's hard to do.
That's
Even me with my broken jump shot is gonna make one of 27.
That's an NBA record. So you don't want to make that a healthy recipe. Now the Golden State Warriors can win on the road. Of course, they're going to win games on the road, but you don't want to give up the number 1 seed because anything can happen.
So I've watched these last 2 Warriors games. I was in and out of the game last night because it wasn't that close. But if you look at these standings, I think that they're going to hold on to that number 1, and you can see 4 through 8. Who knows what's going to happen there? That's going to shake up a lot, which is going to make a really fun end of the regular season in the Western Conference. But I watched the last couple games of the Warriors, and they brought Andrew Bogut back. He's had some peaks and some valleys. You know, he's looked a little slow, but he's made some really nice passes. He's already setting illegal screens, which is one of his specialties. What does Bogut bring to this team, and why did they pick him up?
Height, first and foremost, because his length can be a deterrent at the rim.
Yep.
The other thing you mentioned, he's a really good passer.
Great passer.
A level of familiarity with the guys that he won championships with, and more depth up front. Boogie's coming off an Achilles injury coming into this year.
And he's been
now
out
he's
recently.
dealing with an ankle injury, and he's still new to the situation. Draymond Green isn't shooting well this year, though he's been terrific on defense. It gives you another option to go along with Looney and Bell and so many guys that they're building out to try to make this long playoff run.
Well, the aforementioned Draymond Green was speaking with Sam Amick of The Athletic, and he addressed sort of the elephant in the room that's kind of been a gray cloud following the Warriors around all season, and that is the impending free agency of Kevin Durant, who isn't doing too much to quell the rumors that he might be leaving in this offseason. But here's what Draymond Green said about Kevin Durant's free agency. He said, quote, "He's part of it right now. Whatever happens this summer happens. Whatever the hell he do, he does. If he go, he go. If he stay, he stay. But while he's here, we're going to win another championship. It's just that simple. Nothing else matters." Okay. I mean, he didn't say anything crazy there. He just said if he goes, he goes. If he stays, he stays. But he seemed kind of, I don't know, seemed kind of aloof. He seemed kind of apathetic about what Kevin Durant does.
This is the difference between having an MVP level player join the team that has already won a championship without him versus a situation like in Toronto, where if that was being asked to one of the guys on their team, they would do what they can to try to make sure they recruited Kawhi and/or wouldn't say it don't matter if he stay or go. That's the difference. And so for Draymond, who's built equity with those guys because he got drafted there, he understands that there's a chance that KD might leave. He hears and knows what we hear and know. But ultimately, it's going to be judged based on, it's not going to be judged based on their run. I think whether they win or lose is not going to dictate whether KD stays or goes, and I think Draymond knows that.
Do you think if they win, there's a better chance he leaves, or if they lose, there's a better chance he leaves?
I think it's a flip of a coin.
Really?
I think that he went there as a mercenary. He got 2 finals MVPs. He's taking the championship conversation off the deck. And I see players like he and Kyrie, if they leave their current situation, are going to a new situation to show that they can lead and that they can win versus having to prove themselves because they were already able to do it in other situations.
This isn't a simple question, just yes or no. Will you be surprised if he re-signs with the Warriors?
Yes.
So would I. That's where we are right now. Like, I would actually be surprised if Kevin Durant re-signs with a team that won 3 straight championships, potentially. I would be shocked. I'd be like, whoa, he's staying with a team that won 3 straight? Like, that's where we are in today's NBA, and I'm definitely here for it. Well, where the Lakers are is not as a good place as the Warriors. And Kobe Bryant, he's very familiar with the Lakers franchise. He was speaking with a Spanish publication, and he said this about the potential of trading some of their young core for Anthony Davis. He said, quote, "I say no. Kuzma, Lonzo, Ingram, are the 3 of them better than Anthony Davis? No. Ciao. Bye. Anthony Davis is one of the best players in the world, not currently in history. What are we talking about? If you can trade for Anthony Davis, you do it." Are you surprised that Kobe Bean Bryant is just out and being so flagrant about his preference to trade for AD?
Well, trust me, what ends up happening when you're a public figure, you pay attention to who you're giving the interview to. And I truly believe that publication that he did it with, he didn't feel like it would burn on American soil.
Yep.
Which is why our show is the only one that's showing that. And other shows are showing the terrific interview he did with Mike Greenberg, where he said the exact opposite. Okay? He talked about being patient. He talked about either building what
He
you
likes where they are.
how much he really likes the young talent. So, again, like, it's almost end up being like being an alum of a college. Like, he's not going to root against the team that he won 5 championships with. He's not going to root against Rob Pelinka, who's his longtime agent, Magic Johnson, somebody he idolized. Now, does he want LeBron James to pass him with rings with the Lakers? No.
No.
But he wouldn't be mad if he got one.
No, I think he's rooting for the success of LeBron James and the Lakers.
Absolutely, definitely room for them.
It was a very reputable publication in Spain that he gave that interview to, but it is interesting because, I saw First Take today, and I saw you on First Take today, and they were talking about how Kobe Bryant was optimistic about the Lakers. And how Kobe Bryant sort of like he thinks they're in a great spot. And they had a couple of bad breaks and there were some injuries, and that's the only problem that's going on with the Lakers. But then there's the same Kobe Bryant in the same mouth that says, oh yeah, we need to get Anthony Davis in here.
By all means necessary.
Which one do you think is closest to how he really feels in his heart?
The latter.
I think so too.
What he said to the Spain reporter is truly how he feels, because Kobe's an all-time great, and he knows if you look down at your squad and you got LeBron and Anthony Davis, then you build around them, not the other way around.
And there's also been reports that the Pelicans under no circumstances are going to trade Anthony Davis to the Lakers. So imagine Kobe Bryant being around the practice facility and shaking hands with these young players, and they're still on the team.
It's fine, because Kobe understands that it's a business. They now understand it because they're going through it for the first time. If I was the Pelicans, what I'd do, I'd try to get Kobe in the deal too. That's what you do. The last time I checked, he scored 60 in the last game he played in.
I love it.
Right?
I love it. Let's give the rights to Kobe Bryant. You know he's still in the gym. I love it. I love this. This is like, I'll take Kobe and also Kurt Rambis. Give me Kurt Rambis. And Phil Jackson. We'll take them all. You're hilarious. Jalen. Earl the Pearl Monroe.
Legend.
Is right here waiting
Spin dribble.
to join us in this studio.
Philly's finest.
Right after this. Tony Parker. Not from America, he's from France. S'il vous plaît. So what was that? S'il vous plaît. Close. Not bad. Close. I'm going to go s'il vous plaît. But that's close. You're close. Any other French for us?
Bon voyage.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Arrivederci.
That's Italian. That's
Okay,
Italian.
close.
You're 2 for 3, though. 2 for 3 is not
feeling
bad.
myself.
You're 2 for 3 from the
Feeling
field.
myself.
2 for 3 from the field.
Feeling myself.
Back to Jalen and Jacoby. We have the honor of having another legend in the building. Earl Monroe joins us, the Pearl. Thank you so much for coming through.
I enjoy it. I've been watching you guys for so much, and now being here is almost like a dream come true.
Well,
We
me and you
appreciate
have a
that.
special connection. You and your wife, Marita, have known my wife ever since she was born. And you and Jalen also have a little connection as well.
Absolutely. Jimmy Walker, my biological father, who I did not know, was the number 1 pick in the 1967 NBA draft. You were number 2. Would you mind sharing any stories that you guys may have crossing paths?
Well, obviously, being in a small black school down south, we had the opportunity to see most of the major college players play. Mm-hmm. And obviously, we saw Jimmy and so forth and so on. Jimmy and I got a chance to play with each other. We were on the same team in the Portsmouth Invitational Tournament. And our team won. We had number 1 draft pick, Cliff Anderson, who went with the Lakers that year. Pop Pitts, he didn't play, he didn't pros, but he was from Norfolk State. And Mike Reardon was also on that team, and we actually won that whole tournament. Fortunately, I was picked MVP of that tournament.
You really wish you really think you should have gone number 1 in that draft, don't you? You really think you should have gone number 1 in the draft, don't you?
Well, I don't know. The interesting thing about being in a small black school is that you don't have the information that everybody else has, at least back in those days. I didn't care where I was going to become. I thought, I was just happy to try and get, to be involved with the NBA at that time. But, going number 2, it was okay. I mean, hey, there were a lot of guys behind me.
It worked out for you. It worked out really well for you. You had a great storied NBA career, and one of the pinnacles of that career that you had was winning a championship with the New York Knickerbockers right here in New York City. How many have they won since then?
None.
0. And
They've been to the finals twice.
Twice.
94 and 99.
One of your teammates, Clyde Frazier, is obviously now doing color for the New York Knickerbockers. And on Sunday, a game that you attended, Clyde Frazier had some criticism for LeBron James. Let's listen to what Clyde had to say.
When you're in the face of the NBA, I think you should be more a part of your team, folks. No matter what is going on. In the public, you got to be a part of the team. Maybe in the locker room, you're not, but you have to exude that type of togetherness in public, folks. And right now, we see he doesn't really care.
Clyde took a lot of criticism for some, there are a lot of people that feels what he said was accurate. What do you feel?
Well, I didn't think it was that big of a deal. I mean, I saw the game. I was there. I saw, I saw him sitting on the side. I didn't think anything of it. So, I mean, every time I see him play, pretty much that's where he's at when he comes out. So I didn't think, that much of it. I thought more so that I looked at the game and I was saying to myself, I was so much more impressed with the pace of the game and how the game was being played than a lot of other things. If anything, I had some comments more so about the latter part of the game, whereas the last, 3 shots were taken by LeBron, and especially with being down 1 point and you got 15 seconds to go and you just walking the ball up and the game is going to be on the line. Either I'm going to win it for you or we're going to lose it. That would be something that I would have been talking about.
That's good. Yeah, he's like, you know what I would criticize? I would criticize the part where he lost the game for them, not the part where he sat at the end of the bench.
And he got a shot blocked on the last
by Mario
play as well.
Hezonja. That's a really good point.
But during the game, I was impressed with the fact that he was edging the guys on after, when they're walking on the court or off the court to the huddle. He's everybody hitting everybody's hand, talking about, okay, let's go. I was impressed with that because when you got the star of your team saying, let's go, it pumps you up a little more.
That's a really good point. Now, obviously, you spend a lot of time at the Garden. You watch Knicks games, and there's sort of a cloud surrounding this franchise that's been there for a decade or so. And a lot of people are looking at James Dolan and sort of like hoping that he sells the team and saying he hasn't done a good job as an owner. Do you think James Dolan should sell the New York Knicks?
I can't really say because it's his team. I mean, he's put the money up and, he's running his team the way he wants to. I think it's important for, free agents that are getting ready to come in and, they've got to decide if they want to play for a guy, that's running the team as he's running it. I have no problem with what they're doing now. I mean, they've got a new coach in. They've got a new front office together with Scott Perry and Mills. I think that, as they're running it now, I think it's the way to do it. They just strip the team down. They're playing young guys. They know who they're going to keep, for next year. They're hoping for that great draft pick, and they've got a lot of money in the interim for free agent.
Your final season in the NBA is when the three-point line was instituted. Now it's a three-point happy league. At that time, what did you and other players feel about the three-point line?
Well, it was there. I mean, we saw it in with the ABA because it came from that.
Yep.
A lot of us didn't take the three-pointer because it wasn't in our repertoire, so to speak. When I was in college, I wish we'd had a three-pointer because, my 41 points a game would have went up to 51 or so. But even up until the last 10 years, or so, I mean, guys still weren't taking that many three-pointers in terms of per game. It's just gotten more and more involved as a game, and you got to think too. Even though Steph Curry has done it and he's been the face of the three-pointer right now, it really started with the influx of the European players coming into the game.
Good point. Yeah, especially with someone like Dirk, with the size that he has and the abilities that he has. You see a lot more 7-footers now. It's sort of like you kind of have to have that ability if you're coming out of college, coming into the NBA. So you mentioned the Knicks and the way that they're running the team. And I agree with you. I think they've done a good job. I like the Kristaps Porzingis trade for them and opening up these max slots. But you do at some point have to fill these max slots with players. Do you think the Knicks and that front office that you mentioned can secure 1 or 2 big free agents this offseason?
That's a great question. Well, I'm hoping so. I mean, I think that if a guy's going to come here, you're going to be under a lot of pressure to try and make it happen. First of all, I think that a free agent would look in terms of what the draft is going to be like. Who's going to be drafted? What other slots are going to be filled up here before I come here? If we do come, you got 2 things to think about.
Okay.
First of all, either I'm going to be a demigod when I leave out of here because I've taken the team to the pinnacle, or they're going to boo me out of town.
Well, so you did bring a championship to this city, right? You did bring a championship to this city. What does that feel like when you walk the streets? Like, how are you treated? Because I'm kind of a Knicks fan, so I'm trying to get this. I'm trying to get this in the ears of some of those big free agents. What is it like when you become a demigod in the city of New York City?
Well, I haven't played since 1980, and as I move around the city, and it's almost like I'm still playing. So that's the type of thing that you get here in New York. And a New York fan is, first of all, they know the game and they understand what it is that you put into the game to make it happen. A lot of people say they can't play in New York because of the press and so forth. But if you're doing what you're supposed to do, you don't have any problem with the press. The press is going to eat you up, and the fans are going to eat you up even more.
I've talked about this with the Lakers and the Knicks, storied brands that have been the anchors in those markets. However, the Clippers and the Nets are having better seasons. Each of those teams are looking to acquire free agents this offseason. Can you talk to how the Knicks brand has trumped the Nets brand to the point where those things may or may not ever be equal, regardless of what's happening currently on the floor?
Well, the Knicks brand goes way back. I mean, in terms of, the players that you've had over the course of the years. Now, be it that they haven't won a NBA championship since '73, but they've had some great teams here in New York with Patrick Ewing and so forth and so on.
Yeah.
So as far as the Knicks fan is concerned, hey, there's no other team. I mean, so, it's really hard to kind of trump the Knicks in this city. Although I would say this, I think the Nets are doing a great job in terms of what they've been doing this year.
Absolutely.
And certainly, they're in a position also to pull in a free agent that will help them.
There may not be too much exciting happening for the Knicks right now, but there is something very exciting happening in your life right now. You've released a book, Earl the Pearl, My Story. Tell us about that book, where we can get it, what's going to be in it, and what we will learn from it.
Well, it's like that blockbuster movie, when they say it's out, it's everywhere.
It's everywhere. It's everywhere.
So, yeah, you can pick it up everywhere, your Barnes & Nobles, all your bookstores across the country.
Online?
Yeah, online as well. And this is a book that, first of all, is from the heart. When you read this book, you know that, I didn't hold back too much. A lot of guys, will do a book and they will just do it on the good things that happen to them in their lives and that everything is so candy-coated. But, I felt as though if I was going to do something, I wanted to do it whereas people will understand who I am. I've always been kind of a mystery to people as such, coming from Baltimore and coming to New York and kind of taking the low road and so forth. But now people will get to understand, first of all, how did I get to New York? It wasn't so much as I just got traded. I stopped playing for the Baltimore Bullets and forced them to trade me. But I gave them 3 teams that I wanted to go to.
This sounds familiar.
That's why I can't say anything about guys nowadays.
Anthony Davis. Right.
That's hilarious. Earl, thank you so much for coming by. You're welcome back any single time you ever want to. This studio is your studio.
Legend.
Carte blanche anytime you want to come by. Thank you so much.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
You can get Earl the Pearl, My Story, anywhere books are sold right now. Jalen Rose, when we come back, I'm giving you the Don't Get Fired. I know you love watching our handsome faces, but you can listen to us anytime, anywhere you listen to podcasts. Make sure you subscribe and download to the Jalen and Jacoby podcast. Welcome back to Jalen and Jacoby. Jalen Rose, this is dangerous. It's time for the Don't Get Fired topic of the day.
And now, the Don't Get Fired topic of the day.
We have an update on the Robert Kraft situation. And you know which situation I'm talking about because this is the Don't Get Fired topic of the day. The prosecutors are offering a deal. They're willing to drop the solicitation charges against Kraft if he agrees to the following: a course about prostitution, 100 hours of community service, stating publicly that if the case were to go to trial, he would be found guilty, and submitting to an STD test. Now, the other side of this is there's a chance that if he accepts this deal, any video evidence that could be used against him in trial would never see the light of day. So that's something to consider. If Robert Kraft were to call your phone and say, Jalen Rose, I love what you do on Jalen Jacoby. You're wise, you're a veteran, you're an OG. Do you think I should take this deal? What would you tell Mr. Kraft?
It reminds me of an old Miami-based record. Drop! That's what he got to do, okay? Because he does not want that video to become something for public consumption.
So you say drop, you say drop, you mean he should accept the deal
or form.
So they drop those charges?
Yes. You want those charges dropped? No doubt about it. Here's the deal, though. What ends up happening is if he was the owner of a team that hasn't won multiple Super Bowls, like say even my Lions,
Sure.
the public and the media will view him different afterwards. But since the Patriots have had so much success, people aren't going to really talk about
His
it.
legacy will be he is a champion on the field of sports and also in the field of business. Robert Kraft. However, if you don't have those two accolades, they might say he is the one who got caught up in that scandal in Florida. So you would have him saying to a microphone, if this were to go to trial, I would be found guilty. I think that's hard for a billionaire to do psychologically.
He probably like, what happened to the other famous guy that kicked it there?
Yeah, what about these bigger names? That's what he's wondering. He's like, he's still waiting. He's still waiting for these bigger names to come out.
And somebody turned him on to the spot.
Somebody
turned him on to the spot.
You know who's happy this name's not to be involved in this? Who also lives in the area? Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods is like, woo. I am so glad. Well, he did not take your advice. The latest is that he's going to reject the plea deal. Because here's another thing is when you have money like him, you have lawyers on lawyers on lawyers. And I'm sure that those lawyers are in his ear saying, don't take this, take it to trial, pay us a lot of money, we'll get you out of this.
Hit the brakes. It ain't really about the money in theory that he's accumulated. It's about that money that he's accumulated is so much in the billions that he feels like he's going to be able to pay off everybody so it doesn't come out. That's the opposite side of that. Usually there's a number that you could say to yourself when you're rich. You can say, if they go to this number, I'm good.
Yeah.
There's no number for him to be out. So for him, it probably like, not only am I going to pay it off, I'm going to pay and get the video too. You know what I'm saying? So we'll see how this thing plays out. But here's what I don't want to see. I don't want to see that on the internet.
I don't want to see that video.
I do not want to see
I
that
don't want to see that video. I am not clicking on that link. That is one link I am not going to click on. I'm not going to click on that link. Jalen, you know I don't like loud music. Okay? You know it's not really my
thing. I don't understand that
thing.
either.
But you do like loud music.
Love it.
So, Woodstock. Were you there in 1969 festival?
No.
You weren't there?
Wasn't born.
You weren't there, weren't born then. Yeah. So they had a follow-up one, and now they're celebrating the 50th anniversary of Woodstock. And as all big festivals do, they put out some notable performers. Now, the list is really, really long, but here's just some of the bigger names from the different genres of music that will be performing on that stage with 3 days of performances. Now, Jalen, is this enough to get you to get in a car and drive to upstate New York State, and attend Woodstock?
It is. Jay-Z.
You're going to Woodstock?
Potentially, I would go.
Okay, what would it take? What's your number to go to Woodstock for 3 days?
I'm not going for 3 days. I'm not going for 3 days. Hey, what day is Jay-Z performing? What about Akon? What about Common?
You're going for those ones?
And if they're performing on the same day, I can make it happen. But if they performing on 3 different days, I ain't going 3 times.
If you could time travel and go back to the original Woodstock, would you go?
Of course I would. Because then the world was a lot more liberal. You know, it was like people had free spirits.
Seems like a good time.
You know what I mean?
Peace and love.